We are in the lower left quadrant going through another massive paradigmatic shift in our life world that is the rise of hyperreality. This is an epistemological tsunami, truly. I take this term hyperreal and hyperreality from the magnificent work of Jean Baudrillard, one of the great postmodernists, who wrote in 1980 about the hyperreal. And he talks about how signs, our language, our imagery, our symbol systems, all of the things that constitute the way in which our culture mediates itself in the lower left quadrant. Signs go from representing a profound reality in ancient history, profound here meaning sacred, that our symbols were always designed originally to convey some sort of sacrality. So they go from that to a migration where they go through these stages where our signs now, they start to disguise reality. And you think of the rise of radio or really back to the printing press. And of course, they were also representing reality. So they were still representing reality, but then there's the beginning of some disguising going on to then not representing reality at all. They get to the point where signs don't represent reality at all. So this is no longer that the map is not the territory. There's a complete inversion. The map is literally the territory. The hyperreal, the world of the hyperreal, is a world where the map is the territory. We've moved beyond Guy Debord's society of the spectacle, a world of false imagery of when he wrote that in the late 60s, to now a world of the faux real metaversal. Now, every society is desperate to reclaim some kind of reality, on and on and on. It'll continue to attempt it because we want to ground ourselves in reality. But what Baudrillard calls an implosion has occurred where that can't happen because signs no longer distinguish. Distinctions don't distinguish. They've become meaningless. And so we have a fundamental problem with getting to sacred meaning anymore. And for this notion of sacred meaning, I would point you to one of our colleagues at the Institutes, Brendan Graham Dempsey's book, The Evolution of Meaning, where he talks about sacred meaning. And so we step back and we see that truly when you take this lens and you start to just look around, you'll see this. You'll see it a lot. You'll see this world of the hyper-real. You know, Trump's meme coin that was released this weekend at the intersection, I mean, just let this sink in, at the intersection of the world's most powerful office of planet-wide governance and a literal symbol of no fundamental anything except the symbol being the symbol, and it rising to 100 billion in value. That is not some aberration. I really want you to hear this. That's not an aberration of the hyperreal. That's its finest expression. That's the absolute necessity of the hyperreal. It's inescapable requirement. And that is what's happening in the lower left. Now, like anything, it's just like with the LA fires, it's unequally distributed. If somebody is completely off social media, if they're completely kind of divorced themselves from the sign intermediated life world, then they are at least escaping it from a proximal or direct point of view. They're certainly not escaping it from a distal or indirect point of view, because that hyper reality is still influencing everyone else around them, plus the social systems and the cultural systems. It's inescapable for all of us, ultimately.